everyone, welcome to today's demo. Okay, so I wanted to share with you today about doing reverse die cuts. So a die cut, for those of you that haven't seen my video, die cuts work in a home die cut machine. They're like a metal template. They look like this little guy. When you run it through the home die cut machine, it pops out the shape that the template is in whatever paper you've chosen. So I ran this through my die cut machine and I popped out this shape, which is this cute little flower with all these little intricate little details in it. And this is the piece that we're going to be using today. So this is referred to as a reverse die cut, or I'm not even sure what else you would call that. I'm just going to call it reverse die cut. That's what I'm referring to it as. So we're going to be using this for doing some stenciling. So what you want to do is you got your piece of paper. Oh, let me find out this paper was going to work with here. Hold on, bear with me, friends. Okay, so this is my piece of white paper here, and I'm going to be laying this piece on. So this, we can call this a paper stencil as well. You have the intricate shape that's cut out of the paper. The die cut is really best for this because you get that really nice clean line there. All right, so as we lay this on the paper, there are a variety of different ways that you can do your stenciling. So I'm going to show you how to do it with these blending brushes. So blending brushes are really great because they are actually brushes. These are bristles here, but they're so dense that when you pick up the color and you lay it on, it's just a very smooth gradation of color. So today I'm going to share with you doing that with distress inks. So distress inks are really great because they dry immediately. They are really wonderful for doing your stenciling on here. And you just need a little bit of color, and it really like immediately brings that this stencil to life. So even if I just pick up a little bit, I'm using my fingers on either side of the brush here like this, and then I'm going to be rolling it on. Then I'm going to hold my stencil in place as I just lightly brush this across. Okay. Of course, mostly wanting to stick onto my paper, not so much on paper underneath, but you're going to see in the moment that even though it appears like hardly any ink is transferring, surprisingly, quite a bit of ink has actually transferred. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to lay this on here so I can get even darker colors in here. So I really just love the look of the stencil on the paper there. It's just so soft, and it's such a quick and easy way to do stenciling that just takes very little effort. I want this to be a little bit darker here. Oh, I went over my edge just a little bit. And the bristles get right in there and get all those little intricate areas. And then we're going to do the same thing up here. Alright, and as we reveal this, you'll see it's actually really cool. So you have that beautiful gradation of color here. My stencil shifted just a little bit as I lifted up that first time, but you can still see that really beautiful dark color and kind of that soft gradation, which is really nice. You can even lay your stencil on again, and I'm going to go ahead and just color my little flowers. I'm going to do blue flowers, I think. I'm just going to lay that down and then just kind of brush this on. Okay. Isn't that beautiful? I just think it's so fun, and I just love how that color just blends so beautifully together. It's just really, really nice. All right, so that kind of idea, you can pick up actually any stencil and do that. So, for example, I'll do this fun little wave one. So again, I already have some ink still left over on my brush, and what's great is you could just lay this on and just literally brush on the ink that's still on the brush, and I'm kind of moving in kind of a direction like this. I'm kind of a circular movement on the stencil itself, but then as I head down, I'm kind of just very lightly circling around and then kind of pressing a little bit harder as I see less and less ink is on my brush. And you can even see how beautiful and how quick and easy that stenciling is, and just with very little effort. So really, this is my favorite stenciling tool for that exact reason. It's just so quick and easy. All right, so now I'm going to pull out another one of these ideas. Okay, so oftentimes when you're doing your die cuts and things, you get these very, very intricate little images like this. And you can actually use these as a stencil. I'm going to show you two different ways to do stenciling. And so you have the reverse piece here, and then you have the actual die cut piece here. So when the die cut piece is laid down like this, I'm going to pick up, we're going to do some brown ink here. This is my walnut stain. I'm going to go ahead and press this in place, and I'm using my brush here. I'm going to kind of pick up quite a bit of ink on this. And now I'm going to move in this direction, so then, because if I were to move down, my little cattails would move and skew when I would get ink underneath it. So I want to actually move in this direction like so. I'm kind of moving kind of up like this. So then that way I get that nice kind of contrast of the stenciling underneath, and then I can kind of move in kind of a slow circular motion. I'm going to hold these up here so I can get this nice area down here beneath the grass, so I get nice contrast there. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. Kind of cool about doing something like this is that you kind of get the movement of the grass in that fashion, but we're also doing stenciling at the same time, and we're about ready to see how well this stenciled or not stenciled. Hopefully it's stenciled beautifully. Oh yeah, that's kind of cool too. So I love how here you get some more distinct and some less distinct little areas in there. And then what's cool about this is that when you lay this on here, you flip it over even, you kind of get this kind of look that has the kind of layering of all of the cattails. Like there's some in the distance and some closer. That's kind of a neat idea. Now on the back side of this, we're going to use this other direction where this is the reverse cutout. So we wanted the cattails to be brown. Okay. Ignore the fact that there's cats here cut out of that paper. We'll come back to that in just a moment. So here I'm actually moving in kind of a circular motion as I lay down my ink, because I want it to kind of get in all these little intricate areas of the cattails. And then down below as well, I'm going to hold that in place, this far side one here, so then that way it doesn't accidentally move on me. And same with this one here. Sometimes if I don't want the die cut to move, I'll kind of move in that direction so that it kind of stays flat. And I'm going to go back in and add just a little bit more ink kind of here and there. Oops. Make sure that doesn't peel up. Okay. And there we have that. So I messed up just a little bit because that kept pulling up there, but you can see how you get that kind of subtle kind of cattail landscape background, which is really beautiful. And then again, when you pair this on top, you kind of get that really beautiful layering. It looks like you have cattails, some in the distance and some closer. So you have a couple different effects for working with your die cuts and the reverse die cuts, which I think is kind of a fun kind of concept, kind of a fun way to go. All right. So now we're going to move on using sponges. Okay, so now we're going to use these little sponges. So the sponges are cool because they're called blending sponges, but they're really great because you can pick up a bit of ink and it's really nice and concentrated, so you get a nice amount of color on there. So I'm just going to pull up one of these other colors here. All right, so I wanted to do this little guy here. So this is an envelope here, and I wanted to decorate an envelope, make it kind of fun. So I'm going to use these little cats that were kind of the cat die cuts that were kind of cut out on the side there, and I want to do some fun stenciling with those. So I'm going to go ahead and find my black ink pad here. I'm going to use my black Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to pick up the ink here. And I want my little kitties here to kind of be kind of random and scattered and kind of fun. So it's supposed to just kind of act like a little bit of like a stencil, kind of on the side there. And I'm just pressing down and kind of dabbing on the ink. And I'm using an ink that stays wet a little bit longer, so I have a little bit more work time, just so then that way I can really get nice contrast and really take my time to get those intricate images. Isn't that fun? The cute little kitties on the side there. And I can even go in here, and because of the sponge and the direction how this shape is here, I can really get in and kind of just do a single little kitty if I wanted, which is also really, really sweet. So you can just do some little small stenciling too as well if you wanted. And maybe I'll just finish this off by laying a little kitty up here at the top. I want this one laying here because he's just so cute. And let's see if I can get him in here and just get his little body and his tiny little tail. I think that I can. Aw, so fun. And I'm going to have this kitty here because I want them kind of sitting next to each other. Okay. Look, we have cute little kitties there too. Isn't that so sweet? Just love that. So you can definitely use your sponges to get really kind of more intricate areas, or if you're wanting to kind of create like a background of, you know, let's say you want to do a bunch of kitties all the way around, you could just use that and do some stenciling and more stenciling until you get a consistent background all the way around. So you definitely have some ideas there as well. Okay, so then I wanted to show you about using, actually, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to use this fairy die cut here. Oh, I need a new piece of paper. So with the fairy die cut here, we're going to lay this on. So this is one of those that has these pieces that kind of pull back, and so you can kind of do some kind of fun different ideas with that. So I'm going to start out, but I'm going to go back to my blending brushes here because I really love the blending brushes. And I am going to use, I think I'm going to use the blues here. So I'm going to go in first with some of the greens. What color's on this really fast? Whoops. Sorry guys. I bumped my camera there. That's brown. That's the one I want. Let me move some of these things out of the way here. Okay. So I'm going to go in and start with my green here. I'm just going to hold my my die cut in place. This die cut that I'm using is this one right here. It is so beautiful. It's called Bluebell Fairy Edger. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love the fairy sitting on the edge of that. So we're going to go ahead and lay this down here. I'm going to pick up my greens here. I'm just going to kind of lightly brush on some ink. Kind of moving in kind of a circular motion here. I don't want my die cuts to move too much. I'm going to do some green down here as well. And then I'm going to do a little bit more green over here and kind of blend this out into nothing. Now remember, we're not paying attention so much coloring the die cut as we are focusing on the reverse image here and what is laying down with the inks. Okay, so I want that to kind of be kind of green, but now I want my fairy to be a little bit more in the blue tones and then with the wings and things. So I'm going to kind of go in here and I'm brushing this on with the idea being that I'm actually going to pull up the wings here in just a moment to get underneath the wings as well, so I can get that nice wing shape as well as the little intricacies in the middle here. So I'm going to pull this back and match that up with the edge of the stem there. I'm just going to brush on a little bit of light ink there so I kind of get that nice contrast of the light and dark. Okay, all right, let's pull it away and see what we got. Ooh, look how fun that is. Isn't that cool? I really love this idea of the kind of that blue into the green and this really fun kind of shapes over here with a little bit more kind of foliage kind of look and kind of contrast. Isn't that fun? And you can always go back in with like a black pen and outline and add more details and things, but you can definitely use stenciling to kind of create that kind of ombre, kind of silhouette kind of effect, which is just really, really fun. I love using these inks for doing stenciling because the effect is just so fast. It just shows up right away. All right, one of my favorite stencils that I use all of the time is my cloud stencil. So a cloud stencil is really cool because it has this little, just fun little shape, but if you flip it over, then you get the other direction. So you can create a whole scene of clouds. So I'm going to show you how to do that for those of you that don't know. So what you're going to want to do is when you have a light piece of paper, you're going to start at the top, okay, as we add color on. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more color here. We're going to hold this in place and you just kind of brush on color. And I always kind of start the blend by starting on the actual cloud stencil itself and then blending out and up, and then I'm going to scoot this down a little bit. I'm actually going to flip this over, and again I'm just going to kind of do that one more time, starting on the cloud stencil itself and kind of just moving upwards. And what's interesting is that you're actually adding in, this is going to be kind of a blue-green sky, but you're actually adding in the dark colors, that you're adding in the shadow of that, and you're leaving the clouds themselves white, or in this case it's kind of off-white color. Okay, So you can kind of create that really beautiful look, and then you just kind of lay down a little bit more color at the bottom so you get that really beautiful kind of ombre look. What's neat about the cloud stencil is you can actually go back in and add more and more layers, and so it kind of looks like this floating clouds, and like you have all of these different layers here, and it almost looks like a cloudy day. I mean, it's just so beautiful and so immediate. It's just incredible. So with the blending brushes and the cloud stencil and a little bit of distress ink, you can create a stunning effect in just a matter of seconds. It's so fast, but it's just absolutely incredible what you can do with that. All right, the last idea that I have to share with you today is I wanted to show you about doing the multi-step stenciling, where you have the two different ones. So you have the, like this, it has the pine cones, and then this one is going to have the pine needles. So what's cool about these is when you line them up, you get the full effect. Okay, so you get the stencils and you get the pine cones. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me grab another piece of paper. So I'm going to start out by using just the actual pine cones themselves, and I'm going to be working with distress inks, or distress oxide inks, sorry. And so I'm going to actually work in this kind of color palette here, the Distress Oxide Lucky Clover, the Wild Honey, and then the Black Soot, as I want to just kind of create an interesting kind of look and effect here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first thing I'm going to do, because I want these to kind of be in the Wild Honey kind of color, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up my color here. Nope, I didn't clean off my sponges very well, but that's okay. Oh goodness, I really did not clean that. Let me see if I can find one similar here. I'll try that again. There we go. And a nice bright color there. All right. Oh, I did my stencil kind of crooked, but that's okay, because as long as you get at least a couple of your pine cones down, then at least you can match up the pine needles right next to them. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and dab this on. And I wanted really nice vibrant colors for these, and so I'm using my sponges and pressing it straight down, so then that way I can really get nice color and it can land in all the little intricacies of the pine cones. Okay. And just because I want there to just be a little bit of shadow here, I'm going to use the black again. And I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of shadow right at the base of the pine cones where they might be attaching to the pine needles. Again, I just want like a little bit of contrast. It doesn't need to be a whole bunch, but just want a tiny little bit of a shadow there. All right, as we remove this, you can see, oh, so beautiful. Love, 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 love that. Okay. So now we're going to go in here and we're going to pick up the Lucky Clover. So I always kind of look for a trick to kind of help me match this up. So I know that my two center pine cones are going to land right there. So what you're going to want to do is you actually just line this up so that that covers those two stencils, and the pines should all land in areas where the pine cones are not. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my green ink now. I'm going to go in here and just go ahead and dab this down. I'm just going to go and press this in place here and get all of those that might be attaching to any pine cones. Okay, so then as we're laying down all of that ink here, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of the black ink. Again, just kind of adding a little bit of shadow and kind of giving it just a little bit more contrast with the black, not the green alley. I'm just going to kind of add it kind of here and there, kind of just making it look a little bit more realistic. And I'm mostly focusing on right around where maybe those pine cones might be attaching to the paper. So it's not just so like bright green and then and then you have the pine cones that look kind of distressed. You want that all kind of look distressed. Okay, so as we reveal here, you get that really beautiful background with all of these fun colors. I love this green here. You can see the shadows in here, and then you have your pine cones here, and you have the little shadows beneath there. Isn't that cool? I really just love the look of that. Wild Honey is one of my favorite colors. It's so, so beautiful. I just love the look of that stencil. And I really like these multi-step stencils because it really gives you the opportunity to really use the colors that you actually want to use there, which is just so, so, so fun. All right, you guys, that is today's demo. I hope that you had fun and you learned things and you learned about the coolest and favorite tools for doing stenciling. Again, I use these all of the time. I use them pretty regularly. They are just the really ideal, one of the best tools ever for doing stenciling. So fast and the results are so beautiful. The sponges are really great if you're using oxide inks or wanting really intense color. So kind of depending on what your project is, you may find that you're really enjoying the sponges or you really enjoy the brushes. The brushes are really great too also for getting in all those little intricate areas. For doing the little fairy and stuff, how it kind of pulled in all of those tiny little intricate parts that a die cut cuts out. The sponges though, you pick up so much ink and then you just press right down. So it kind of looks, it depends if you want kind of a blended effect or if you're really wanting nice and intense colors. All right, hope you guys had fun. Thanks for coming to today's demo. We'll see you guys later. Bye.